There's a lot of talk around the Chicago Bulls and will they be active out in the trade market? But one of the questions that a lot of people aren't talking, what will the cost of doing business be for the Chicago Bulls? Could that mean having to move on from Iota Sumu, Coby White, or Patrick Williams, some of their young core? We're talking about those options all and more. But first, got to play that intro.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content, y'all. So I'm not gonna lie to you. I've been sitting here thinking about this, and while I've been very adamant against personally wanting to see the Bulls move on from Coby White and Iota Sumu, even Patrick Williams to a degree, but there does have to be some tough questions answered. And with the Bulls, reportedly, and we'll still see if that ends up being the case, if they are truly looking to move, towards keeping their top 10 pick, and that really becomes the case, the Bulls may have to do some business with things that we may not want to see. And so, the prospect of moving Coby White, the prospect of moving Iota Sumu seems like it's getting louder and louder around a lot of Bulls pundits in the conversation there. And so, is there a real chance that one of these guys could be moved? And Patrick Williams, I know a lot of Bulls fans look at it as well as they're kind of over the Patrick Williams experiment. So I don't really think there's too many people that are really kind of upset at the potential of moving on for Patrick Williams, even though he's still a young player that this team drafted. And I think he's had his pluses, he's had his negatives, things like that. But overall, it's been a disappointing for the most part, right? And so I think when you want to pick a direction, right, and this is always the case with everything, is that you don't always get to keep every piece that you want. I always look back at this. Do you remember when the Bulls signed Carlos Boozer that offseason, and they really did everything that they needed to do to turn that team into one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference? I remember adamantly one of the things that John Paxson and Jerry Reinsdorf at that point talked about was I hate that we had to move on from Kurt, but we had to do it to bring in the pieces that we had to from this roster. Now, Kurt Heinrich ended up coming back a few seasons later, but they had to move on from a player that they wanted, to be a lifelong Bull in Kurt Heinrich, to be able to facilitate building the team that they wanted at that time. And I look at the Coby White and the Sumu situations that they could end up being something similar. Now, that team was moving towards being a playoff contender, wanted to be one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. This Bulls team is more so looking to bottom out, clear itself of some bad salary. Well, not bad salary, but clear itself of some big salary in Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic. And Coby White and Iota Sumu could become a casualty of just doing business. Now, I'm not saying that that's something that I want. I'm not saying that that's something that should be ideal. I'm not even saying that that should be what the Bulls necessarily are doing. But it could be, by the direction that they pick, it could end up just being a byproduct of that. And that's what it could be. That's what it could end up being. And I think that that's what you ultimately have to look at it for as well. And I know there are going to be a lot of Bulls fans that are upset if Coby White is traded. There are going to be some that actually are happy. They look at Coby White as being an inconsistent player, even though he's a lot more consistent than inconsistent. A lot of people point out Coby White being inconsistent, but if you look at it so far this season for Coby White, out of the 21 games that the Chicago Bulls have played so far, if I'm not mistaken, which I could be, if I'm not mistaken, I think only 4 of those games Coby White has not scored at least 20 points. You look at last year through the first 20 games of the season, it was 14 games that he didn't score 20 points. So yes, Coby White is still an inconsistent player. Make no mistake about it. But it's not nearly as bad as what some people are making it out to be. But that also could be why you need to look to move on from him. It just could end up being that that's the case as well. So Bulls got some tough decisions that they need to make when it comes down to it. They got some really tough decisions that they need to make about this roster, what they want it to look like, what they have to give up to do business. And that's always around the NBA. It is not easy to just to do business without giving up something that you want to keep. Just isn't. And that's the prospect that the Bulls sit at right now, is how much do they really want to bottom? And they also have to ask themselves this, is how much of it is are going to be there anyway, right? Like all jokes aside, right? Let's say the Bulls focus is keeping the top 10 pick. And I said this in today's daily episode. If you trade Nikola Vucevic, there's a world in which that alone guarantees you keeping your top 10 pick. The Bulls are on pace right now to win 28 to 30 games. And you look at that would have been good enough last season for the 8th worst record in the league. So the Bulls have a chance of that. Now, if you remove Nikola Vucevic from that scenario, then maybe you can do that. And then what does it look like then if you keep Zach LaVine, keep Coby White, keep Ayo Dosunmu, but you're adding a top 10 pick to that? Right now, that's a very, again, not saying that that's going to be the case, but that's also something that I would like to think that if the front office is looking at all the options that make sense, they also have to factor that in as well, right? Or on the flip side of that, what if it is that you move Nikola Vucevic and Coby White, and then you keep Zach, who is your veteran, whatever, and then you're adding an Ace Bailey to that. You're adding a Dylan Harper. You're adding a Malowich from Duke to that, right? So those are questions that you have to ask yourself. It's not as straightforward as what some people make it out to be, but it's not nearly as easy as what some people are making it out to be either when it comes down to moving on from one of these guys. And ultimately, listen, and I've said this before, depending on the asking price, anybody can get it. Anybody can get it. And that's the thing that you also have to look. You cannot. And one of the reasons we're in this situation that we're in right now is because of the Bulls holding on to players that they probably should have let go. Probably should have let go. So, and I was wrong. So Coby White, through the first 21 games, 8 games he has scored under 20 points. The first 21 games of last season, 14 of those 21 games, he didn't score at least 20 points. So it's been a lot more consistent as far as the output from Coby. It's not to say that Coby White isn't taking bad shots. It's not to say that he isn't making some bad decisions. And that seems like he's lost his mojo since Scottie Pippen Jr. cooked his ass. But, those are things that are going to come ebb and flow with the season. But we really got to look at where this team is going to go. And again, the price of doing business may be you got to get rid of somebody that you would have liked to keep. And that's just the reality of it around the NBA. Very few franchises get to keep everything they want and make a move or a serious change in the direction of their franchise. Now, make no mistake about it, it's still a huge chance as well. By the way, so let me know how clear the stream is, because I upgraded to gigabit internet because the stream has just not been up to the production quality that I want to keep it at the last couple of weeks. And I think it's because the internet's been dipping. So let me know how the stream looks to you guys as well. Thank you for that. But so yeah, it's just the Bulls have to keep themselves open to any and all possibilities is where it stands right now. Delbert says, I think Zach Vooch and either Coby or Ayo are gone after the deadline. And you could very well be correct in that one. I would keep all AK picks, Zach, Izzo, everyone. And then, no. I mean, I get what you're getting at with that, but it may not be possible. Give you Bronny. How about we give you Sense? Because what the fuck, Anthony? Stop getting high, bro. The jacket fire yourself. Appreciate this. It's more of like a blazer because it's like it's all connected. It's like one of the old school type joints, but it's loud though. Like, I don't know if y'all can hear that if it comes through in the mic. It's loud as hell when you walk around in it. The Bulls not going to get anything from P. Will. That he haven't showed the league anything. It's not about getting anything for P. Will. It's about including him in something to maybe get. And listen, I've told you guys before, there are teams around the league are a lot higher on P. Will than what people think. And that's mainly because Bulls fans have this view on P. Will because he was drafted 4th overall, whereas other teams around the NBA, they see a young guy who's 3 years old, who can shoot 40% from 3, give solid defense, guard 3 positions. That's something that, again, I'm not saying that teams are going to be willing to give a whole hell of a lot up for, but best believe if they're trading and they're giving you an unprotected first-round pick, there's a lot of teams that are going to look at that and say, "Hey, let me get that P. Will off you." That's crazy bar. That's wild. That's wild that I just said that, but that's a little weird. IOP Will Coby, that's like blow out the whole house. Not necessarily. Haize, apparently we have the King second round pick this year. I need the tallest motherfucker. See, and that's the thing. That's where you go wrong at. Unfortunately, where the Bulls are right now, they need the best talent available. Because and just being tall does look at how Bam Adebayo's having a down season this year, but look at how Bam Adebayo's been for his career at the center position. It's not necessarily about height; it's about skill set and toughness. That's really what it's about now in the modern NBA. A 6'9" center can get by more now than ever before. It just depends on what you're able to, what that person's skill set and their toughness is. That's a big part of that. Honestly, at this point, I'm not attached to anyone on the roster except for Modest. I love the players on our team, but it's time to kick it into motion. I completely agree with you. And let me be clear. I'd hate to see some of these young guys going, especially because I still think that they can unlock more of their skill set if they do go to another team that's kind of better constructed. But price of doing business. Really good players don't want to play for the Bulls. With the present ownership and management, Chicago is a no. That's not necessarily true either. Listen, teams, here's the thing. There are a lot of teams that had bad reputations until they started winning. It's not about ownership. I guarantee not a lot of players look at it and be like, hey, who's the owner? They look at it and say, who's the GM? What's their track record? What's the coach like? Those are way bigger things than ownership. But I will agree with you. Until the Bulls start winning, they're not going to be a free agent destination. But that's why the Bulls are more so geared towards drafting, because they're not going to be a free agent destination anytime soon. It's time to move on from Coby. I'll keep Io and P. Will for now. I mean, I already talked to you about your voicemail today. I don't know if you got to listen to the daily yet. If we have to move on from Io or Coby, I'm moving Coby. I can't lie. He's just too inconsistent. Well, I mean, Io's inconsistent as well. And even like I said, I just went over it. Coby's not nearly as inconsistent as some people, not this season yet, as some people are trying to make him out to be. Coby and Io definitely are going to re-sign with the Bulls in free agency. AK Mark Eversley might as well try to trade. That's nothing to be shown to that. When you make these hardline statements that are really just opinions and they're not really based off anything. The Bulls can still offer them way more money. Io's from Chicago, and neither player has shown anything about not wanting to stay in Chicago. And as long as the Bulls can offer them the most money, there's always a chance there. So just to say they aren't going to re-sign, you can't really say that. You can say that you think they aren't going to, but you've had a negative view on most of the Chicago Bulls moves. They ended up not really being true. I mean, and again, that's not to come at you. That's just is what it is. New offense, quicker decision making. It's still in progress, in my opinion, on some of the youth. Yeah, a lot of the youth is still in progress, right? It's crazy you talking about this because I just was talking about a package of Coby White, Patrick Williams, and the second round pick for Amen Thompson and Eason from the Rockets. You're not going to get that. They're not coming off it. Like, you got to keep in mind that the owner there doesn't want to move their young talent for a star. He's definitely not going to want to move it for Patrick Williams, Coby White, and a second round pick. Like, the owner of the Rockets, there was a battle between the owner, not the battle, but there's two different thoughts. The owner of the Rockets wants to keep all the young pieces and see how it's going to develop. Whereas Ime Udoka would like to trade a couple of those young pieces to get a surefire star. But as long as your owner, if he doesn't want to trade the young pieces for a star, he's definitely not going to want to trade any of those young pieces for what we got. It's not going to happen. We have to pick up another big somewhere at Bulls for Life. Good question, though. I mean, we'll see where the big comes from. If the Bulls do trade Vooch, what's the plan for the 5 position? Move Jalen to the starters, play Sanogo off the bench, trade for another big. It really depends on what we get back for Vooch, but Sanogo is an option. Moving Jalen is an option. Yeah, we'll see. It's clear. Good. I was about to say, because if I upgraded this internet and it doesn't look like pristine, I'm going to be a little bit pissed. So, like, I upgraded it 2 ways. So I went from 600 megabits per second to a gigabit internet, which is almost double. And then I also upgraded the studio, the whole house, to a mesh Wi-Fi network. So there's a router on every floor. And so just a stronger signal overall on top of the upgrade. We should be cooking. We should be cooking now. We should be cooking. The stream should be looking real good. It looks better than before, actually. Good. That's what I like to hear. The stream looks more crisp now than before. That's what we want to see. That's what we want to see. There are 3 perspectives in sports: organization, fans, and players. All 3 different viewpoints. Sometimes 2 overlap and go against the other. Rarely do all 3 agree. That is a great and insightful statement there, BKR, because you're 100% right and spot on. 100% right and spot on. P. Will and Vooch need the boot. See, why? Like, I think people who have this Vooch hate still like haven't really watched much of this season. Like Vooch is probably the most consistent bull. The hardest part about being a fan of a terrible team is the wildly different perspective from casuals to frequent to day-to-day watchers. People throw random shit out. Oh, bro, like absolutely. Absolutely. Where'd you get this jacket? I've had this one for a while. I got this, honestly, no jokes aside, I think I got this from Fashion Nova. I'm about 90% sure that this one came from Fashion Nova. I was on there like looking for something else. I was like, they got Bulls gear, and saw this and had to order it. About 99% sure I got this from Fashion Nova. Will this still be a fun basketball team? Excitement. I mean, I think the style of offense that we play is always going to be exciting to a degree, but it's not winning basketball, that's for sure. What's going on, MC Season? Glad to have you in here. How about a package around Duarte, Carter and Duarte? What are you trying to get back? A Portillo's dipped? Like I don't get what you're not getting much back for those guys. I've been watching. Vooch is finally showing his potential this year, but I say it's too late. I can see where you're coming from now. I just thought it was like that blind hate. And again, it's just you see so much crazy shit around here. Iowa's a tough one for me because he's now the leader of the team and can be the young vet and help bring in the rookies. Well, I mean, Coby's kind of more the leader than Io is in that case, if that's what you're judging off of. They have a nice dichotomy because it seems like Coby's the leader kind of in the locker room. Io's more the leader on the court, but I can definitely get what you're getting from on that one. I think AK was looking at the Wizards to see what the Wizards are doing. I mean, looking at them for what? If the Bulls keep losing like they are, why would Coby or Io want to resign here though? Money. Make no mistake about it. The Bulls can still offer them more money than anyone. That's one of the key factors. For Io, it's a little bit more. He's from Chicago, so it's a little bit more of that. And then also, these have been two very loyal people. Lloyd, you're doing nothing but exposing yourself. Who goes on a clothing website looking for boot? Is that how rough your life is? You go to Fashion Nova. Look, I've never gone to Fashion Nova and be like, "Hey, cheeks." Like some of y'all just need to grow up and just watch porn. You're going to Fashion Nova to look for cheeks. That's weird. That's really strange there, Lloyd. It's really strange there, bro. You have to make necessary changes to get to the goal. If Coby is a trade piece, then so be it. We are full Bull fans over player fans. Hey, listen, completely. That's a bar. Completely agree with you. No, but see, some people are player fans. Look at the Lonzo Ball stands that be around here. Coby was John's pick, and to be honest, Coby was more productive and consistent than any pick that AK has chosen. Hope the Bulls keep and re-sign Coby. Got great perspective on that one as well. Great perspective on that. I think they should look to Milwaukee to flip Craig or Carter and take the flyer on Beauchamp. Listen, if they are willing, if the Milwaukee Bucks are willing to take Javon Carter and Torrey Craig and give Marjon Beauchamp, and keep in mind, I'm not even high on Beauchamp, but as a young wing defender with tons of potential, I'm not mad at that at all. Like first of all, the ball headed hoe. I don't give a damn. I don't know what food do they. No, poutine is not Milwaukee. That's Canada. What is Canada's food? Just cheese? I mean, Milwaukee's food. Is it just it's just cheese? Do they not have like a signature dish? That's weird, man. That's weird. Poutine's fire though. Poutine's fire. Exposing you. Yeah, bro, like trying to make a joke and completely expose himself. It's like, damn, you down bad as hell, man. My man going to Fashion Nova for cheeks? That's crazy. I know we won't get shit from them guys, but sounded good. Hey, maybe one man's trash is another man's gym. No, but for real, I want the Bulls to keep eye on Coby regardless. Well, I mean, look, you got to look at it this way. Is that the Milwaukee, like there are going to be some teams that just need role players. Milwaukee is a really good candidate for that as well. I love this team so much and your channel. Thank you for doing it. Good to hear BKR in the mailbag too. Hey, listen, I'm going to find a way. I will find a way. Me and BKR, as long as we've been brothers in doing this, I've popped up on his live streams. He's in my live streams. We have not done an episode together yet. We got to get this done. Me and BKR got to get this done. And we're gonna figure it out. We're definitely gonna figure it out. I would love for some reputable reporter to put out an article seriously talking about sources within the Bulls organization are saying Carter and Duarte might be available during. I don't think you need to put out sources for that. I think everybody, I think everybody knows that if you want Javon Carter and Chris Duarte, you can get them. You can get them. I hope we don't have 5 years of rebuild like the Wizards do. I mean, listen, you got to look at it this way, right? And that's why I keep calling it a retool and not a full rebuild, depending on how much of the Bulls pieces that they can keep. We're not that far off from being right back in the play-in. And I talked about that on today's daily as well. Like, if the Bulls hit on their, if they get to keep their top 10 pick and it hits, right, and you still got Modest, and Modest hits another stride next season, as well as finishes this season strong. If you do happen to keep Coby, Io, Julian, Dalen, like, you got a nice core of young players, right? And then depending on what vets you can keep around, you can be right back in contending for a play-in spot. And I know people are going to say, "Well, Haize, we were already doing that." It's a lot different to contend for a play-in spot with 20 to 25-year-olds than most of your core being 32 to 30 to 35-year-olds, right? So it's a much different. Like, if you're only contending for the play-in and your core is all 30-year-olds, you're failing. If you're contending for a play-in and you have young early 20s to mid 20s players, that's promising, right? That's how much age and the place that your franchise is in really matters in what you're competing for. I don't trust this franchise to make the right moves with trading Io or Coby. It could possibly bite us. They have not given me any confidence. And you're not wrong. You're not wrong for that. You should not have any confidence in it. Save yourself by saying poutine's fire after saying what's Canada's food, bro. Joking, man. That's fun. I mean, yeah. I didn't say punani. I said poutine. What is the blowback on Giddey about? I feel like he has been pretty decent. We knew he wasn't the best defender, but he hasn't been a liability like some have been acting. Oh no, Norman. I got to disagree with you. The Bulls have lost every minute that Josh Giddey's on the court. If you really go back and if you go look at the analytics, every minute that Josh Giddey has been on the court for the most part, we've lost those minutes. Now, I'm not saying that's all on him. Billy Donovan doesn't play him in the best rotation, so that's not like me shitting on Josh Giddey. But he's been a liability, and he's been a pretty big liability. And the thing is that even with his passing and stuff like that, like, it hasn't necessarily had the positive impact that I think a lot of people were hoping for. But then again, I think a lot of people have also made him the scapegoat right now of all the Bulls' problems. And they have a different scapegoat every season, every single season. You look at before the Vooch trade, everybody blamed everything on either Laurie or Zach. After the Vooch trade, and after Lonzo and those guys came here, it was Vooch for the first 2 years after that. Then it started switching to be Zach LaVine. Then after Zach went down, it started switching to being DeMar. Like, Bulls fans just love to find one player and try to blame everything on that one player. And it's usually a lot more complex than that. It's usually a lot more complex than that. Don't give me hope, Haize. Hey, listen, we'll see where things are going to shake out. We'll see where they're going to shake out. Haize, who do you see as the best teams the Bulls should make trades with before the trade? Oh, I don't have that. I listen. I look at assets. I don't necessarily look at the best teams because, again, if the Bulls make big trades, the idea is that it's necessarily to get worse and keep your pick. So that's a perfect statement, Haize. People will cry if we are a playing team with just young players, not including Zach, Torrey, and Vooch, which is stupid because that means our young team is improving. Facts. Completely different view there. Completely different view there. You can't hide Giddey on defense. He's just horrible defender. Has been that way since day one. I mean, listen, no, I got to give Giddey the last 2 games has actually gave pretty good effort defensively. So I'm just, it is what it is. But all right, y'all. I appreciate you guys so much, man. I just wanted to do this quick live. A, I had this topic on my mind. B, I kind of wanted to test the new gigabit internet to make sure that everything was going to go right. So yeah, I appreciate you guys for tuning in, man. Make sure you guys are following the show at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. BullCentralPod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for the daily. And we got games tomorrow. Love you guys. Go Bulls. See Red, y'all. Peace.
Presentation of the Break Media.